Hello everyone and welcome back to Eve's Market, your weekly look at the amarr market. We're gonna start straight off with titanium. Again this weird data point here, but on overall it looks like the price staying pretty much the same. Just above, yeah, well, a bit hard to see where it's sitting on. Looks like sitting just below the 6 ISK. Really hard to see because of this really weird data point. There's back here again. It looks like it's still sitting pretty much around the same price, maybe a little bit higher. It's pretty hard to see, so it just looks straight at the data itself. For seller's price, just below the 6x 5.99. For the buyers at a 5.73. Pretty decent. I like to see it a little bit lower, but for now it's still sitting pretty much around this price. Some decent size orders up too, so don't expect this one to quickly drop. It can drop pretty fast if it gets fulfilled, but don't expect that one's gonna be. So 5.73 for the buyers, last week's 5.65, so went slightly up in price for this. Then ferrite is going slightly up in price in the beginning of this week, then suddenly starting to drop more towards the 11 ISK again. And for today we're seeing slightly higher for the price, but on the overall, on the whole week, it's been slightly going up in price from just above the 11 towards the 11.50, but it doesn't want to reach the 11.50 because we made suddenly yesterday this drop again towards the 11 ISK. So on average, ferrite is staying between the 11 and 11.50 per unit. For the sellers, 11.32. For the buyers, we're sitting at 11 with almost going towards the 10.99, so we're getting slowly lower in price. Expect this one maybe to start dropping a little bit in the oncoming week, but we'll see what it's gonna do. Compared to last week's price, we went slightly up because that was 10.97, so we went only a slight up for the price, but not a huge amount on that. Oh, excellent. Maximum also beginning of this, was this? Yeah, beginning of this week a bit. It was pretty low on price, and then, sorry, just woke up. That is this whole week is starting to crawl back up in price. We're hitting almost the 60 ISK here per unit on the Friday. On the average price, you can see the days before that was lower, and the Wednesday it was a little bit higher again, but not too much. You can clearly see on the Saturday and for today we are dropping again back towards the 58 per unit almost. So on average, Maxilon is still trying to drop. It's starting to flat out a bit, the 20-day average. So we may gonna see a rise up in the price, or it's gonna stay around this. But it's starting to flat out after a pretty time of like almost a month of dropping in price. For the seller's price, 59.48. For the buyers, 57 is per unit. It's slightly higher. 56.83 was last week's price, so we went slightly up in price for that. Let's see what Isogen is doing. Isogen, very surprisingly very stable on this. You see here huge sales on the Monday this week. There was a huge sales here, but it had only effect on the next day with a drop in price, and after that it went straight back up towards its normal price. So I think it's staying very stable, small ups and downs, but not really affecting the 20-day average, because that one is staying almost pretty much straight for the whole week. So Isogen is currently very stable on price. 99 ISK for the sellers, 95.92 for the buyers. That's a lower price. 99.03 was last week's price, so that's a decent drop on that for the price of Isogen. Then we have Noxygen. You see here pretty big jump, but let's see what it's really gonna do. We see an uptrend in the price of Noxygen. It's too bad there's not a week thingy. You can can see it was pretty stable in the beginning, but more on the end of the day, week, you can clearly see it's starting to go up in price. It's starting to go up around Wednesday. Tuesday it was even lower. On Wednesday it was starting to go up in price, and then Thursday, Friday still going up. The Saturday surprisingly dropped again in price and was suddenly lower than almost all week, second lowest. And then for today we're going back up again, so it looks like Nostrum is starting to go up in price. So next price, sellers 474, 475 for the sellers, 456.72 for the buyers. That went surprisingly very little down. Basically it's more the same price as last week. Last week's price 456.73. So it's a really small drop on that price. So mainly it's staying around the same price. Then the more interesting ones, what they're gonna do is Seinrad. Seinrad has still been going up this whole week. Not by much, but staying pretty much around, looks like 13, just above the 1300. Above 1400, sorry. Around 1475, looks like it. It's staying pretty much around that price, with a very slight drop this week, but not much. You can clearly see, by the way, for yesterday and today we're sitting pretty much at the same price at the moment. But this, at least for a Friday and Thursday with it, is also pretty much on the same price. It looks like Seinrad is gonna find at the moment around this the new spot for the price. For the sellers 1451.94, for the buyers 1268.14. That is a little bit of a drop. Last week's price 1274. So that has dropped a bit in price, but I don't expecting it's gonna drop much more. I think it's gonna be around this range on the price for Seinrad. Megasite is now doing the same thing, really starting to go up, huge sales here, suddenly starting to go up in price pretty quickly. If I look at this, going with 2 steps, sitting 2 days around the same price, going up again, sitting around the same price, about 1300. It's starting to cross the price of Seinrad now, so Megasite is getting more expensive. Hitting the 1400 on the Friday. Saturday, yesterday it dropped back to 1350, and today we're sitting already above the 1400, so it's crossing now the Seinrad, and Megasite is getting more expensive than Seinrad, like it should be. Expecting this price to keep on going next week. Seller's price 1418.83, buyer's price 1316.21. Pretty decent increase on this one. 1151 was last week's price, so that's a pretty big increase on the Megasite market. And you see what Morphite is doing. Morphite has been dropping a lot in price. I went down to below the 9,500 per unit even, or just above it for it's only 2 days. It came from about 11,000, dropped to 10,000, 1,000 drop, went back with a half, and dropped with about 1,500. Looks like it. It's more, a little bit more. Going back to 10, making huge movements, and suddenly then for the last 4 days it's starting to stabilize a bit again, around the 10,500 per unit. You can clearly see for today we're already starting to go up again, so maybe trying to recover from this drop that it made here, back more towards the 11,000 per unit. Seller's price 10,698 flat for this. For the buyers 10,102, slightly above that. Clearly that's a lot higher than last week's. 9,113 was last week's price, so it makes it pretty up in the price. We're above the 10,000 per unit again for Morphite. Then I looked a little bit on the common salvage here. Armor plates still made this huge drop this whole week. dropped to below 87,000 per unit. That's really low. And it went up on Friday towards 88,000. Then yesterday we were back on the 90,000. And for today we're already growing towards the 91,000 again. So we made a huge dump here on our plates on price. But you can clearly see it's already starting to recover again on the price. Trying to get back to a good position. Maybe heading more towards the 100,000 again. At least towards the 97,000. It looks like it wants to go that way again. Seller's price, that's the wrong station and not enough units. More than 500 units we always go for. 96,395.79 for the sellers. 90,010 just above it for the buyers. It is a drop in price. Last week's price 91,410. So it made a decent drop on that. But logic circuits also made suddenly a drop this week. It was already dropping in price for a while, and suddenly it made here a huge drop. It was below the 55,000, but straight away it's starting to recover again towards the 60,000 per unit. For 4 days sitting flat on that, and yesterday we're sitting a little bit higher even. So it was a suddenly drop in price. There's not really clear what's happened. There's a little bit higher sales here, but I say this is not high enough to really to make a drop, but apparently it is. And after that it's starting to crawl up again. So if this is gonna go up the whole week, I doubt it, because it was so slowly dropping for a while. But maybe it's starting to catch up with the normal line it was dropping on, or it just want to go back up in price again. 63,500 for the sellers, 60,600 for the buyers. Clear a lot lower than last week's price. 64,031 was last week's price. Dus that's a good drop on that. For the interface circuits, making the same drop, so definitely someone is hitting the market. To also make it suddenly this drop down on the Tuesday, it looks like also here bigger sales was starting to make the drop. The next day after that it didn't respond too much to the bigger sales here, but the day after it definitely hit the market and started to drop again. There's a slight uptrend again on this line. I think it's just gonna go slowly back up towards more normal price, because it was pretty stable for the other 3 weeks on this graph here. Seller's price 5,300, 5,400 rounded up for the sellers. Not a huge amount of buyers. 4,398 just above that for the buyers. Let's go to the right one. Yeah, that's clearly a drop. 4,804 was last week's price, so it's clearly a drop on that. And melted capacitor consoles, not a lot of sellers, not a decent amount of buyers, so price is indeed going up. Also here again, a huge amount of sales here, around the same day as all the other ones are. There's maybe a 1 or 2 days difference in it. Melted capacitor consoles clearly a little bit later on the sales. Didn't really hurt the market for the next day yet, still sitting around the 8,000. But the day after that, and that's the Thursday and the Friday, definitely got hit by it. Friday even more, head towards the 8,500 for 2 days on that. And for today we're slightly lower, but on average melted capacitor consoles still staying around the 8,500 per unit. But they're sitting already pretty long for that. Well, I say normal I go above the 500 units. That's gonna be pretty hard to do that now, because there ain't one. So this market can be killed really quickly. So 10,000 units for melted capacitor consoles, definitely a lot higher than we see normal. And for the buyer's price also 8,500 per unit. Last week's price was 8,300, and that was already a new record price. So even for this week we have a new record price for melted capacitor consoles. Since I started recording beginning last year. So definitely new record on price. This market is very quickly to kill. If one have the ace for it, I have it for it. I'm not gonna do it. Then trip power circuits. Also a little bit bigger sales here. That's starting to hurt the market and starting to push the price up. It's been going down for such a long time. Now it hit even 23,000 per unit here. It was as low as it get because I had 2 days a little bit higher sales here, with one quiet day in between. But it definitely hit the market, which is starting to go up in price to 24,000, 25,000, and now almost hitting the 26,000 for today. The trip power circuit is definitely starting to go up in price, heading up again after a long drop. 26,100 for the sellers, about 26,000 for the buyers. Definitely a high price. 24,900 was last week's price, and now going up towards the 26. Skill extractors are went up last week suddenly, but this week we're seeing at the end of the week a drop in price again. We're sitting pretty much 290 million for the whole week, and then for the last 3 days, on the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, we're clearly seeing a drop in price. And we're heading towards the 270 million per unit at the moment. Sales are dropping a bit, except here for the Saturday we're seeing a decent amount of sales. But for most of the days we're sitting below the 1,000 units being sold per day. And we clearly see that's starting to drop in price. 281.7 million for the sellers, about 270 million for the buyers now. Yeah, I don't record prices from last week, but you can clearly see it's starting to drop in price. Skill extractor is making a rapid movement, really. You can clearly see in the beginning we're starting at 690 million, suddenly dropping towards almost 620 million. Rapidly went up again, and then looks like it's starting to stabilize a bit more now, around 650 million. Sitting between the 660 and around the 650, even a little bit below it, say 640 million. I think it's time to stay, but it's gonna stay around the 650 million. That's where it looks like it's gonna stabilize around this area. Current prices for this 655 million for the sellers, 632.1 million for the buyers. Then we're gonna take a quick look at Plex. Plex is still dropping now and then in price. On average, you can clearly see the drop. 20-day average is starting to drop after this huge drop here. Sales amount are dropping, but still staying higher than normal. It was always, but I think give it a few more weeks, and we're pretty much gonna see a drop on sales, or we're gonna see another huge spike on Plex sales because of people are running out of it. Because this Plex sale started when the skill extraction injectors came in. We see we're almost we have about another week left on this. We're gonna see pretty much next week we may see more sales amount more towards the normal price, and the week after that we may see a huge increase in Plex sales again for people that want Plex their tunes again. So we're gonna still on the prices, we're still seeing a drop in this 1.18 billion, dropping to even below the 1.17 billion, but it's going a little bit back up here to 1.17 billion per unit. Sellers price for Plex 1.180 billion and a half. For the sellers, for the buyers 1.159 billion. 0.7 for the buyers. So last week's price we went still slightly down on it. Price 1.162 billion and a half for that. So we still went down on the price compared to last week. So this was this week's look at the amarr market. We'll see you all next week again. We're gonna take a look at the market. I was going some stuff that I don't need here anymore. So thanks for watching and see you all next week. Fly safe.